I just had to call you. You know, the other day I was having tea with Mrs. Rumpelstein. She lives down the street. She was telling me about how her roof was caving in. Terrible. I've never had much of a problem with the roof. It's my foundation that's cracking. Before Mr. Mayhew passed, I told him in time and time again that we needed to have it looked at. But then came the war and all building materials had to go to the effort. I was a nurse back then. Seems like we all were. Such a cliche. But duty called and there I was, 19 years old and off to training. I arrived on September the 24th, cap in hand and my girdle tighter than a... well, that's not important. The fact is, I was rather squeamish at the sight of blood. Boy, was I in for a surprise.
Mrs. Mayhew.
Please, call me Margarine, or Marge. If you prefer. It's a family name, passed down for generations. Some of my family say we are in the direct line of Margaret of Antioch from the 4th century. Of course, she was also known as Margaret the Virgin, so that may not be entirely accurate. My mother named my elder sister Margaret and the next Marguerite, so I suppose Margarine was the obvious next choice. Mother was named Margot. Yes, funny enough, we all answered to Marge. Perfectly suitable when it came to being called for dinner, but rather confusing in conversation.
If you please.
Father took to giving us pet calls rather than pet names. Mine was this low sort of gurgling sound. Try it, now come on. A bit throatier than that. That's it. That's it. Very good. See how it clears out the phlegm? Best see if you had a cold. Last winter I had the nastiest bout of the flu. You wouldn't believe it. It was
Mrs. Mayhew, Marge, please, I beg of you. You asked me here for a reason.
I did. Oh, I did, yes.
Thank you.
Of course, my dear man, I thought we'd have a bit of small talk while we finished our tea. Oh dear, I forgot the tea.
No tea necessary. Let's see. My assistant said something about a map.
Oh, that's right! As I was saying, when Mrs. Rumpelstein told me about her forsaken roof, it got me to thinking that it had been a long time since I'd been in the attic. Must have been 10 years. Oh, the cobwebs. Oh, I didn't think that I've ever seen so much dust. Not unless you count the time that oh, yes. And lo and behold, I found this painting. There had been a slight leak and some of the canvas had peeled away from the frame. That is when I noticed a second canvas under the first. My heart started beating. I thought I'd found old Captain Flint's map. Indeed, it was a map, but not of an island in the Caribbean.
It appears to be an area of Brazil, where the Urucu meets the Amazon.
If you say so.
This is impossible. Look at the drawings on the side.
The Bedonk-a-Donk-Bird. That is why I called you.
Could this be it?
Can you make out the text written here, down here?
In secret lair, the forest blue, amid the trees, this sacred tomb, lies a strange and mystic land, completely lost to time's own hand. Amazing!
Yes, it appears to rhyme in both Portuguese and in English. How do you think they did that?
I mean, this find is amazing, and it couldn't have come at a better moment. Scientific world, to have your theories labeled bomb.
Try me, no.
Will open your eyes and witness the rise of Philip people love. I will show all those doubters in my past knew Magellan and Columbus too. I'll travel the world, cross the 7 seas, making new discoveries. I've arrived at the moment my life turns around. Let the world hear my story, let the chorus resound. I will shout to anyone who listens to my call that Philip Plunk's the greatest discoverer of all. Look out, world, stars on the scene. Before long, I'll be dining with the Queen. I'll be hailed like Marco Polo, Archimedes too. As someone on worth, on this blessed earth, you can laugh, but it's the truth. You will hear my eurekas as I streak down the lane, and the papers will all read, he has done it again. I'll be known by everyone, be they big or small, as Philip Plunk, the greatest discoverer of all. Oh, Nobel, I can feel you in my hand. You'll look swell on my wall of my nightstand. And knocking on my door, I'll be played by Cary Grant, Cary Grant. Forget about that joker dog. Livingstone was who? The history books will forget those crooks in a year or two. I've arrived at the moment my life turns around. Let the world hear my story, let the chorus resound. My students will whisper excitedly when I walk down the hall. That's Philip Plunk, the greatest discoverer of all. Of all. Of all.
To be young again, your enthusiasm is inspiring. In fact, I intend to fully fund your expedition.
I don't know what to say.
Oh, no words are necessary. When when Mr. Mayhew was alive, he loved bird watching. If he were here today, I believe he would have done the same thing.
You don't know what this means to me. I must get back to the university and start making arrangements. Thank you, Mrs. Mayhew. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, dear. You know, I envy you this new purpose you seem to have found. Now, about that tea. Professor! Professor! Youth, always in a rush.